Dear learners, now we are in section B. This section will give you idea about various measures of national income like GNP and GDP. And the significance of their measurement in nominal and real forms will be discussed with particular examples. We shall start with gross national product, in short GNP. It is an important measure of national income. How can we define GNP? The sum of the money values of all final goods and services that can be produced by own factors of production regardless of where they work, in home or abroad, over a specified period of time, usually a year, is called GNP. The colored phrases bear the properties of GNP. Let us now see the properties in detail to have a clear idea about the definition of GNP. The first property is that GNP is a monetary item. Only the money value of final goods and services are considered in counting GNP. Units of measurement of different goods and services are different. We need to use a common unit of measurement. As all the goods and services can be valued by money, that's why we consider the money value of all goods and services while we measure GNP. Inclusion of all final goods and services is another property of GNP. But to understand the property, we need to know the difference between final goods and services and intermediate goods and services. Goods and services that are purchased by the consumer for their ultimate use is called final goods and services. Final goods and services are not used for further production. Barber service, barber, etc. are examples of final goods. On the other hand, goods and services that are produced for resale or for use in producing other goods and services and thus purchased not for ultimate use are called intermediate goods and services. Service of a manager, wheat, etc. can be examples of intermediate goods and services. But when we measure GNP, all final goods and services are come to the account of GNP. No intermediate goods and services are considered. This is because if we consider the intermediate goods and services along with the final goods and services, it will create a problem named double counting problem. The third property of GNP is that in calculating GNP, only the goods and services produced by own factors of production of a country are considered. Our own factors are working in our country. Goods and services produced by them will come to GNP. Again, our own factor may work in abroad. Goods and services produced by them in abroad will also be included in our GNP. Let me put an example to make it more clear. Suppose a US citizen is working in Australia. The money value of the service he or she provides in Australia will come into the GNP of USA, not in the GNP of Australia, as he or she is not a factor of Australia. But goods and services that are produced by foreign factors in our home country will not be included in GNP. As like the example, services provided by US citizen in Australia will not be included in the GNP of Australia, as it is not the own factor of Australia. As like the example, services provided by the US citizen in Australia will not be included in the GNP of Australia, as it is not their own factor. The final property of GNP that we are going to discuss is that GNP is a flow concept. Any concept related to time is a flow concept. In defining GNP, if the time period is not mentioned, it will be ambiguous. As like personal income, GNP represents the income of a nation. For a person, for example X, if we say his income is $3,000, what does it mean? Is it his weekly income or of monthly? It is not clear from the statement. Similarly, while we mention GNP, we have to mention the time period as well to avoid ambiguity. And the time period we consider while we measure GNP is usually a year. Let us now go through the definition once again. The sum of money values of all final goods and services produced by own factors of production, regardless where they work, home or abroad, over a specified period of time, usually a year, is called GNP.